Hello everyone, my name is Mbikudi. For those who didn't watch the first part when I talk about the struggles in business, this is part two where we have questions and answers because I did get a few questions and so we've got a lovely assistant behind the camera that's going to be asking all the questions. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for coming back with Mbikudi. We're trying to build up some data over here. So, and to see through the light, because as I talk about the black people, particularly, we most of the time swim into darkness. We try to do things, go by things, just believing to what how the people tell us, but we actually don't get the time to stop a bit, to pull apart and to question our own people. So my first question is that how long Mbikudi has been operating?
So Mbikudi has been operating for a while. In terms of, it's an idea that I really started working to launch Mbikudi around 2015. So we started working to launch Mbikudi to design the first few products. And so the first product was actually this one over here, but to design theirs along with those other ones. So in 2015, I think October 2015 was really when we decided to focus more time into developing and growing the social enterprise in Mbikudi. And then we registered in March, so at the end of March of 2016.
So more or less, how many products do you have in Mbikudi? Yeah,
I think we have. I want to say we have. Actually, funny enough, you say that because we've uploaded some product on eBay right now, and while we were uploading on eBay, it was close to 56 products. 50. And then if you count also like the packs and everything like that, it came out almost 70 products, yeah.
I'm seeing those battle over there. What kind of product are there?
So these ones are supplements. So these ones are supplements that we developed as well. And how we came about it was like initially we had the creams and then we started making the soaps. So then when we were making the soaps, we're using a lot of natural additives. So I call them superfoods, such as activated charcoal, moringa, and using paprika, using turmeric as well to create natural colors in our soaps. But then what we realized are those were actually superfood. So then we started telling people, do you consume superfood? Do you eat the moringa? Do you eat the activated charcoal? Can you actually consume it? So many people, yes, they could eat it. So many people can actually add moringa into their smoothie, or you know, like myself, I drink activated charcoal anytime I have it, me upset. Or even clay, you know, I love taking clay, so I can actually take the clay in or take any kind of potion, like I call them potion in terms of, I don't mind even taking paprika or putting cayenne pepper with turmeric and some, you know, I used to take vinegar. So I was accustomed to all those tastes, but actually when I went into the community, what I realized was that for many people, those tastes were very strong and it was very difficult. Therefore, they preferred to have like combination of all those additive into a form that they can take easily without tasting the taste of it. So that's how we came up with the supplement. And then we came up with a combination of different supplements. And what we do is that we include European as well as African ingredient as well in our supplement. And actually to also showcase how things such as garlic are very powerful for human health, you know, ginger, and that those things are actually in your kitchen right now. So for many people and for many cultures, what used to happen was like at every single month, there was a detox time for the month. So what you would do is you would probably take like either activated charcoal for a period of 3 days or a week, or even taking raw garlic in just to kind of like give that detox for your stomach, because you need to treat your digestive system like something that you need to clean up as well. And especially now with the food that we eat, there's a lot of congestion, so people don't really, you know, digest properly or anything like that. So therefore it was important to actually give your organism a boost, to give your system a boost. So this is how they came about.
Thank you. So this is a lot of work. So what we know about business and companies, that when you start a business, after a while you start going on holidays, in Bahamas, going on holidays, because the idea behind companies that when it starts out busting, and you have a lot of time to go for holidays. So my question is that, how many days do you take in a year for holidays?
Holy what? Holidays. Oh wow, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed by this. I am so embarrassed by this. It's bad because, like, in terms of, for so long I thought I took holidays. For so long I thought I took holidays, and in terms of, we did a 2 weeks promotion of Mbikudi, Belgium. So once we were installing Mbikudi in Belgium, and I went down for 2 weeks. And for so long, when I came back, I was telling my friend that I came back from a holiday. I was in Belgium for 2 weeks, and that was my holiday. But what happened in Belgium is, like, there we had to do a promotion. I was meeting businesses, and I was also meeting different of our customers as well, just to have a meet and greet in Belgium. But also I met a lot of the children. We did a photo shoot with the children as well, just to kind of, like, because they wanted to ask questions about how it felt like to be a business. So in reality, over those 2 weeks there, I worked more than I worked when I'm here. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a holiday. So I think.
So you don't take holiday.
So the last holiday that I remember was the last real holiday that I remember was a 3 days honeymoon that we took, and that was a long time. And even that one was very short because I was working at the time. So it's a difficult one because for me, I got to a point where I value my weekends, because that's some of the weekends, because some weekends I still work at home, but I value at least having 1 day where I can sleep in a week, or 1 or 2 days, a couple of days that I can do. And for me, that feels like a holiday. But really, in reality, it's shocking to say, but I haven't taken a holiday.
So coming from that, how many hours? I mean, when in a day, like on a Monday, Tuesday, regular day of the week, when do you start working, and when do you finish? When do you close your work?
Oh wow, you went straight in with the easy questions. I mean, the difficult ones. Wow, it's a difficult question because, like, it depends. I mean, like, in terms of, it has varied, it has varied through our life as a business. And initially, especially when we were home-based, I think it was the hardest part, because I remember, especially when we were preparing for the Veg Fest, I have this memory of it being around Christmas time, the end of the year, where everyone is closing up. And I remember a day where we worked to make product until 10 p.m. So we were working until 10 p.m. And just barely, by the time we finished, we had to clear everything to start cooking. Mm-hmm. Because obviously you can't use the same equipment. So we had to clear everything, wash everything by 10 p.m. And then we started cooking then. And then I just felt so lethargic, no energy left completely. So I remember, and I also know, like, there's some days where I would work from home first of all, so in the morning. So we'll come into the office at 10 o'clock, and then we'll stay until 6. And then once I get home, I'll work again until 10 o'clock. So usually I'm accustomed to doing a 9 to 6 or doing a 10 to 10. I've done 10 to 10 shifts in sometimes. But I think also, and it's been very hard. Getting an office has been a bit easier because it helped me to do the transition between home, relaxing space, to being at work. And it's funny, when you ask that question, I can feel like, oh, my, I wouldn't call it anxiety, but I can feel like my body tensing up, because it's almost like my body's telling me, do not lie, do not lie, tell it as it is. And it's hard, I think it's like, I know ironically as well, I've studied business law, so I've studied law and I've studied, like, the work directive, and my dissertation was on the work directive. It's just safe to say that I work more than the recommended hours within the working time directive.
Yeah, thank you. So I know that Mbikudi is a African Britain-based company. Mm-hmm. I know that many people think that being here in Europe, opening a company is easier, is good. Because of the way things work in Africa, when you open a company, then the administration gonna feed on you. You're gonna have different type of administration chasing you for free money. You know, so it's how you can't survive as a company in Africa by the way it works now. But here I know the challenges are higher. So I want to quote a footballer. I think it should be Eto'o, after he won awards. I think like a golden shoes, golden feet, something like this. He says something that start something into me. He said this. He said, yeah, he was happy for the award, but to get this award as a black and African person and footballer, he had to work 5 times more. Being a black African, he had to work 5 times more to win what everybody was winning for that match. Many people didn't pay attention to that because, in football you have fans. So they go like, for fans, okay, he's a winning, but they didn't value. So, for your experience, how can you quote this in your life, in your business experience? Do you think it is the same? Do you have the same feeling?
I think it's true, and I think the other thing, the other thing I would tell Eto'o is like trying to be a woman and also a young woman.
Even worse then.
It's even worse, I've been in cases where I had the vision since I was 21. So my idea was like, okay, so I'm gonna mature up a bit before I start the business. So I finished my degree. I had a law degree and I had a diploma of legal practice. So it's a postgraduate study. So by then, and also some work experience too. So then by then I thought I was quite mature to actually do my business. And also because I see myself as being mature, I was mature to start my business. But then what happened is when I started and I spoke to many people, many organizations, sometimes I was asked for who's the manager or who's the man behind it all. So I've been asked that, in person. And it's funny because...
No, excuse me. People have been asking you...
Yes.
Talking about your own company.
Yes.
Who was the man behind that?
Yeah, who's the man behind it? Who's the manager?
The manager. So, because you're young, black, and a lady, you're not enough.
Basically, you get that a lot, and I think it's and that's where we need to talk about it, because when you get people telling you that you're not enough, you may not react to it then, but then all those negative comments catches on to you. It impacts you, especially when you're burnt out or when you're tired, when you're trying to replenish, when you're trying to really let it out. So many times you've had a case of like when you talk about, because essentially my dream was, okay, so I started a business. By the time we registered, I was 26 when we registered. So by the time I started the business, I started it when I was 25. So by the time I registered and launched, I was 26. So then I thought, okay, so it's an under 30 business. So I want to really promote the under 30. So one of the directors was younger than me as well. So one of the directors was 24 at the time. And initially I was going to go with a director range of 30 and under because I thought it would be good to promote. But what we faced automatically was very difficult, because within the community, within the people that we had to work with, or any time that we were trying to get a contract or redistribution or anything like that, you felt like you were dismissed especially because you were a woman, but also because you understood how things were. So you were dismissed. So you get that very dismissal of like, maybe people feel like people think it's cute what you're trying to do, and they don't see the vision, but they see how cute it is. So it's almost like you see how beautiful it is. They see how well put together it is, or they see how you've worked really hard. And that's something that I get a lot. It's like, oh, you must be a hard worker. it took me a while, and it took me a very while to actually understand that sometimes the comment that I was getting, because what happened is, as a woman especially, and as a woman, as a black woman, as a ethnic minority in the UK, and also as a young person as well, you get a lot of condescending feedbacks. So not only you have to deal with the negative feedbacks, and sometimes the negative feedbacks are better because immediately you know it's negative, so your resilience come forth. So your resilience come forth, you're able to fight against it. So automatically you're able to go over it. But it's the condescending feedbacks, and the people who don't believe in you actually, and some of them were actually by the services that you were meant to benefit from, And I remember getting advice from a business advisor before I started, and this is probably why it also led me to actually be like, you know what, I'm going to be a social enterprise, because if this is the way I'm going to be treated as a business, I want to be able to be an example, and also potentially, in the future, help other women that feel like me. Because I knew that when I set up Mbikudi, and yes, we work with women to overcome barriers, but I was that woman that we were working with in Mbikudi. So the Mbikudi job, I've had to do the Mbikudi job on myself first to be able to be more resilient, because one of the earliest advice that I got was the business advisor told me, you've studied law, why do you want to make hair products? No one values a hair product in the African community. No one values hair product, especially hair product for your own hair, why do you want to do that? And it's like, and then he told me, like, I'm actually working with a business that has a portfolio of I think it was £250,000 or £500,000, no, it was £500,000. And so they started just not long ago, and now they have a £500,000 portfolio. And I was like, and I didn't understand what a portfolio was. I didn't understand what they mean by £500,000 portfolio. I later got to understand it. £500,000 portfolio meant that they had investment of £500,000. So people somewhere, through their work, through what they did, but there were people somewhere that were able to actually decide that this business deserves to receive, we'll support them for £500,000, right? And then I just thought to myself, like, and when you come to that realization, and lucky for me back then, I'm really grateful that you've helped me, because many things you realize it later, which but it helps you to kind of like carry on. That's what they say, ignorance is bliss. Now, when you understand what the person is coming is like, I'm coming for business advice with a business proposition. You should be the one telling me how I can do, just like the person who came to you who got the £500,000 investment. So your business, as a business advisor, your job should be to help me be in that position so that I can also, get the investment that I need in order to bring the society up. Because when the business goes up, you employ more people, you invest more in the community, you invest more locally, if that makes sense. So that was a mindset that I understood later, which was a fact of like, what was being flaunted to me was actually its shortcomings as an advisor. Because what I then realized is the power that we get as a business, that I then realized later that it's, as a business, you come with a vision, but it's not you that should be writing the business plan. Come on, people. It's not the person who comes with the vision that should write the business plan. It's the job of a business advisor, actually. Business plan is the job of a business advisor. And a business advisor who asks someone to write a business plan when they come with a bare idea, it's almost like you having a business idea is like having the concept of, it's almost like being pregnant, and they ask you, they ask you to take a picture of your baby, that's not even born, or to tell everyone what it's going to do in life. You need to be able to nourish that life first, see it come, see it grow, and then create the business plan. So you need to give first of all the support, I want to even call it the hope, but also nurture the idea. Let the person test out their idea, and this is what kind of helped me as well, because I was resilient enough to test out my idea and to actually, as opposed to going for the mainstream that tells you bring the business plan or do this, do that, you know, you had to, we have to work harder, like a lot harder. And that's the statistic that shows it. And it's not just for myself, for women in business, for especially Black women in businesses, and also other ethnic minority in business. You have to work extra hard, because as soon as someone sees you, they see you as not the person that I would invest on. They want someone else to come with you to strengthen your idea in order to invest on that person, as opposed to strengthening you to be able to come to that level, to come to that confidence. Because the funny thing is, the same people who educate men to be confident are the same people who educate women not to be confident. And that's something that actually needs to be spoken out there. Is the fact of like the same people who do the risk assessment and do the risk taking to support male or men-led businesses are the same who do not support women-led businesses. And that's the problem for me. And I think it's a case of like, you have the institutional problems, you also have the limit, but sometimes you have the mindset limit, which is like, I met very few people, and there were many. In my group, there are many, because I talk about them, and I talk about the people who promoted me, the people who helped me a lot. So I give shout out to those who push. So it feels like there were loads, but in reality, if I'm to compare the amount of, you know, shut door that I've received as opposed to the open doors that I've received, there's no comparison. You know, the shut door were a lot more, but it was either visibly or not visibly, if that makes sense. And I think that's the issue, because by the time I realized that what it meant by that portfolio, and it's been many years later, and I realized that for a business to come to having that kind of portfolio, they've had business advice, they've had a certain, you know, a certain type of advice they've had, certain type of support that they've had to actually got them to believe that, yes, I can be I can be a fast growing business, I can be a STEM, you know, I can use, because in today's life, all businesses use technology. All businesses use technology. And I know I've gone on to it for a very long time, but I also wanted to mention something else, because you mentioned how in Africa you've got like the state as a vulture. In the UK, things are very different in terms of you don't really have the vultures, like you're saying, like the everything is done in a fair, it seems fair ways. But what you have are obstacles and challenges. Walls. So you have invisible walls that you don't know until you hit one. Yeah. That there was a wall. So you don't know. With a small door open for choosing ones to go through. Yeah, so you have those kind of things as well. But the other thing as well that you have is the vultures in your, there's many vultures as well. And I think as a business in 2000 and now in 2020. So in 2020, I do think that anyone who's wanting to start a business need to be aware of the vultures, especially I call them the online vultures as well, because what you come about is like when you're looking for funding or you're looking for you know, to get ahead, you know, we fell a scam, and I think I've mentioned in a video previously where we fell scam of an organization who portrayed to help people to secure investment. So we went in the UK, so it was a UK based company where we went through the stages, we did the registration and we sent the business plan, we sent everything. And then, you know, we never got the investment. And then the company then dissolved. So did you pay anything? So yes, front? We did. How much? We ended up paying. So it was almost like it didn't feel like you were paying for the investment, but you were paying. So we paid £350. So the £350 was more for them to send you like the registration, to send you documentation, and to send you different things so that they can help you, because that's what happened. But then it happened to be a scam where you paid them £350 and then they went with your hard-earned cash. Now the problem was like in those cases, it's a painful experience for a business, but it's one that you learn. And it's not something that I say it negatively, because I always say, like, if you've paid for an experience, it's like paying for, you know, it's like paying for university. Not everything that you pay for actually, you know, comes up at anything, you know, so it's paying for an experience. So it was very hard because what does is like it sets you back. Then you're thinking like, can I trust other organizations? What can I do? Who can I go to? Who can I not go to? But then again, the hardest thing for me is the fact that it's not spoken about.
Yeah, that the hardest thing, because I was thinking about the same thing, that the way UK is portrayed outside, okay, then to come to the realization that you have scam company going through the system that hate a lot of people, and I believe that they're more the kind of hits go more on people are weak. I mean, people are starting, people that can't get big grant, you know, people that think that, okay, those kind of grant that will never get me, vulnerable people. So, and the vulnerable people, I will likely say that most of them ethnic minority.
Absolutely.
So this is a scam going to be targeting ethnic minority, and I say black businesses, because they're vulnerable, because they want to grow, but they don't have much access to what other people have too, you know.
So you left with looking and searching in many ways, because what that happened back then, that I think that one was between 2017 and 2018, if I recollect. No, it was 2018, I think. And what happened as a result of that is the fact of like, and I think it wasn't linked, and then I didn't think it was, but now that I look back, I can also see that that was one of the reasons that contributed in me having a burnout as well, because that was like almost the second year of running to the third year where you feel lethargic and you feel like, I was meant to be having this in place so you can support me to really reach further, to run faster, but you don't have that. And it took actually, so then what you do is like, you're thinking like, and the statistic that I was told when I started was like, in any case, most businesses close within their first year of business. And I actually realized that it's true, and I can see why. I could see why. And I felt like for many businesses, it wasn't their fault, because what happened was like the advisor was almost like telling me, most businesses close within the first year. Why should I help you anyways? And I'm like, well, effort is your place.
I'm not suggesting you to close within a year.
No. It's suggesting me to even close before, so that there's less statistics, so the statistic looks different, It's suggesting me to not even be there, literally, so that it looks, so that statistic about less women being in business, about less black women, less young women being in business, that rhetoric can carry on. Those rhetoric can actually carry on. And this is where it's very challenging, and I can remember actually that during that year I was literally, it got to a point where you send so many bids for funding or whatever back then, and it come back to you as like with no success, and you're thinking like, last year we actually got to what seems to be like the highest. We were doing very good, we got like very great visibility. We even had the ASDA. We worked with the with the ASDA Foundation and with Social Investment Scotland. So we got I was like, this is good. But then the year after, you're just thinking like, how come with we were on the papers, we were everywhere, but how come then the support is limited? Then what took was like, it took us actually working with so we worked with many organizations, but I remember there was one that particularly phoned me, and she was like, why didn't you not apply to this program? And the truth was like, I told her, I'm burnout. I don't see the point of doing this anymore, because I'm just thinking like, if it's going to be such a, it's such a struggle of like having to run through, and I know it's something that was very hard, and what happened was like, when I became a Women Enterprise Scotland ambassador, right? What it helped was like, I could actually see that the frustration that I had were real, Initially, part of me was, I was embarrassed for feeling that way. And that's why I didn't make that many videos as well, because I was embarrassed for feeling that way, because I felt like, is it just me, or is it me that makes people feel like that towards me? But then what West was able to do, they were able to bring the statistics, and there's also been the Rose Review, that the government now bring the statistics saying like, this is the evidence. So now I have the evidence to actually realize like, hang on a minute, the problem is not me. The problem is not me, it's the invisible wall, like you're saying. And the reason I'm talking about it is because the invisible wall is there. And it's unfair for me to tell someone start your business without telling them that we faced an invisible wall.
Yeah, definitely.
And you might face an invisible wall, like you might not, but you need to be aware of what's coming, you know. And it's something that needs to be spoken. And I do think many more people need to start. And you know, it's good that we've been very fortunate, because I do believe like in some of the walls we've been able to go through some doors. Do you know? But every time I go through every door, every opportunity that I take, right, I always think about other people like me. Other people like me, other people who might not have gone through the door that I went through. And it's still sad. And it's sad. It's almost like sometimes you have to celebrate a win, but at the same time you can't celebrate a win, because you realize that yes, I've won, but actually when you put back the statistic, it's a very small statistic. But it's also a strength to carry on, because you realize that by carrying on, there are more people able to share the message. So for me, you know, and I do think like 2020 is the year of, you know, it call it the year of vision, but for me, real vision means like we need to talk about the real debates. We need to talk about what's really out there. And it's funny, because as I mentioned it, I know that many women-led businesses, this, you know, regardless of whether it's just ethnic minority or not, many women-led businesses have faced what I've faced and more.
So we're happy we're having you here, and this is the second part. We're gonna have a third part, keep going in this kind of revolution of the thinking. And I think unspoken things, when you don't say something, you become conscious of what is happening, you know. I'm gonna close this second part by formulating kind of picturing what I've seen here. It's like the system again never changed, still the same. So change in appearance, you know, they change skin. It's like a snake. A snake keeps changing skin, looking new, but it's still the same snake. While in this new skin, they want different people coming with idea, with company, okay? And then it looks like they support you. They sell you a belief. They're gonna be supported. You're gonna get to that because you see them. You say, okay, I'm gonna become like them. And they say, yes, we're gonna help you. Yes, they give you some pennies to start, but just to start. What they need a how you call it? They need a percentage of high company starting, a percentage of high company closing. This is the job. So they start you and they finish you. So when you want to treat, when you want to make the difference, then you are left alone.
Yeah.
You are left alone. You are left alone.
And it's like, it's something that many women-led businesses feel as well. And also I can talk from like the many women business-led point of view. I have the young people-led business point of view, and then you also have the, you know, black or ethnic minority people business-led as well. So essentially you have that feeling where you're supported for some point or some part, but you also feel like you're not supported throughout or to the extent, you're not supported to the end sometimes, and and you feel that as well. And it's a shame, because while the same, you know, and that's where you feel like it's initially you feel maybe it's me, there's something wrong with my vision or what we want to do, because what you realize is that while those barriers happen for business like yourself, you know, it doesn't affect the statistic, you know, and the statistic carries on, because it means that it's not affecting everyone, so it's affecting you. And also in the thing is like, what we want to see is not to affect anyone, but we want to see a growth and a diversity, because sometimes I feel like when it comes to help, or people saying like, oh yes, you can apply to this, you can come to this, you can do this, one of the things that I've realized is like, as a business, when you have a vision, it's almost like taking for granted that many people are able to do so much. And I'm very fortunate that through the fact that I've had a very, very diverse experience in life, and I talked about it in part 1, and it made me more resilient, and it made that I could adapt to a very diverse way of working. But it shouldn't be expected of everyone to be able to do everything in their business, to be the manager, to be the accountant, to be the cleaner, to be the product maker, to be the business manager, to be the, you know, the one that looks after figures, to be the HR, the seller, to be the representative, to be the social media person, and to have all those skills and work together. And I do think more assistance needs to be there about actually having, you know, people that you can work with to actually fill some of the gap. And I do think some of the gap, more gap needs to be filled. And I do know that many organizations do that. And also, the funny thing is, when I promote an organization, is because I see that in a certain way or another, they respond to the challenges that I've went through. And that's why I will continue to promote them. But also sometimes, but I do believe that with everyone as well, more can be done as well with everyone. And more should be done as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll close by this. I'm going to paraphrase a chicken in the farm.
Yes.
You know, in a chicken mind, it never come to occur that it's going to make eggs for people to eat. He makes his own egg. And he believes that these people is helping him to have to be in a very beautiful farm, giving foods, in good water, looked after, so he can reproduce his own species. But what happened when he makes eggs for generating new own species? They got taken, eaten with salt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close by that. Thank you.